This was not always central. It used to be oceanic. It wasn't always central, it was lateral. Glad this isn't going on YouTube because I wouldn't want to subject anybody to what was just said. Welcome back, everybody. We have a very interesting story to translate today. We're probably only gonna get part of the way through for this because it's a much bigger translation than what we did before. So feel free to join us. We will be translating. I want to read this off before we get into it. Soton recommended this story. It's something. This story was created by George Corley of the Conlangery podcast, which is fantastic. I love that podcast. It's where I learned a lot about what I know about. So, we're going to take a hack at it, mainly because it's really good for showing reference tracking. And that's something that I need to figure out how it works. Because through my time of streaming here for Kea, I figured out how we're going to do tenses, I figured out how we're going to do questions, I figured out how we're going to do discourse markers. But I don't think I've done reference tracking. So, here we are. I am going to read through this story so everybody is on the same page. There once was a man who beat his donkey every day. One day, a second man, who was a neighbor, came to the donkey beater and asked, "Why do you beat your donkey?" The donkey beater said, "Beating is all the donkey knows. I must beat him until he learns how to behave." The donkey beater then went into his home and discovered his dinner wasn't ready. So he beat his wife. His neighbor heard the screams of the donkey beater's wife and came to the door. "You should not beat your wife so much," said the neighbor. "I beat her until she learns to have dinner ready on time." Sometime later, the neighbor saw the donkey beater beating his son in a field. This time he did not say anything, but seized the donkey beater and began to beat him with a heavy cudgel. When the donkey beater asked why his neighbor was beating him, his neighbor replied, "I will beat you until you learn not to beat others." We're doing that. Soton. My reference tracking methods at the moment are first person, second person, and third person. Not even gender distinguished on pronouns. That is my reference tracking. So we can figure that out. There is grammatical voice. Definiteness, if you're talking about just like definite versus indefinite articles, then yes, there are, but they only apply to animate nouns. Demonstrative can apply to inanimate nouns as well as animate nouns. So I can see those turning into inanimate articles, inanimate definite articles. That's pretty much that. Okay, so there was once a man who beat his donkey every day. We can do things with that. How do I do relative clauses? A while back, I figured it was this thing. It's just a compound. The complementizer is a compound with this and thing. So it would be tokai. It's very fun because kai is the word for thing and kea is the word for person. Okay, so there was once is funky because once comes from one genitive. I have ordinal numbers, but I think the way the tenses work is that we have like a root system for a past perfective, past imperfective, and a perfect tense system to evolve. So at a long time ago, some man. Okay, so the question is, if we bring in the temporal adpositions, my question becomes, are we speaking in reference to now? So like before us. Time is moving, so we are moving forward through time in Kea. I say this because my one of my big translation deals was Keatifoines, which translates to the ones left behind. So behind being like we're not looking at that anymore. Yes, time moves forward, son. And you face the future. Correct. Okay, so yeah. So if I'm using the temporal adpositions, my question is, do I just say, before us this happened? A man beat his donkey every day. So I could say, Ashatane satokai. Before us, this. And then frequency. How am I gonna do frequency? I can do to fight. Do I want to use to fight, or do I just want to use like some sort of some sort of other construction that's like to hit and hit and hit and hit and hit. Because me yama, like, that just means to fight, which is a single instance. It's a single durative instance. What can I do to make it so anti-semifactive? Well, okay, so the verb to hit already has galactic canon. The verb to hit already does have an iterative. It's reduplication. So the way reduplication works is that it's derivative. It's not aspectual. Yes, it is lexical aspect. You got it, Soton. So what I could do, we could pull in English to keep something. Well, no, that's already something else. We already have something else for to hold. That means, like, I don't want to do it. We could do, he returns to hitting at morning. But depending on how strong lexical aspect is, it can tell you things about the absolute of argument. Might have the accusative get replaced by the genitive based off of the lexical aspect. Building a house versus building houses. Because when you finish building a house, it's complete. There's nothing left. Where building houses, you stop when you want because there's a theoretically infinite number of houses that can be built. Okay. That's something I never thought about with this language. Also, I think I'm gonna stick with that returns to hitting. What I can do, durative versus punctual being, or instantaneous, being a sort of on the verb sort of thing, and I can do telic versus atelic be on the noun. So I could do genitive. I could say there was a man that returned to a horse's beating or a donkey's beating. I could do that. I'm breaking this up because I need this to be broken up just for my sanity. I think I'm gonna stick with this, like, the donkey's beating, because that is just a general, to me that sounds very general. And then I need every day, so, or in the morning, or at tomorrow. Ishae that is that is four A's in a row. That is 2 moras per syllable. Tu. That is fantastic, and I live for it. Or should I do at all tomorrows? A collective tomorrow? I don't know. Should I do a collective tomorrow? Just to show that it's a telic? That would also need to treat it like a noun, which I don't think is a problem. So I can say congregation kind of just means a collection. I say that because I have a word for congregation. Oh my gosh, what case does it take? What case does it take? It's gonna be accusative because it's a locative. In all of tomorrows. Yes, it's accusative. Okay, I just want to point out that this is my favorite aspect of Kea. The fact that you get 2 long vowels right next to each other that are distinct from each other. Only because of the accent, generally. So, patemo or aatu. Only because of the accent. It is fantastic. So, after working on one line for this, okay, I'm gonna write the literal translation and then I'm gonna end this video. Before us, this happened. A long time ago, a man returned to his donkey's beating it every morning. So I think I'm gonna give a dramatic reaming. Very on brand for this story. A dramatic reaming. Just bam. Okay. So Ashata nesa tokai. Kea hohinoi meamaroi some isha e patemo atu. That's beautiful. That is beautiful. YouTube, I hope you enjoyed. This was literally one line of this. One sentence. One sentence of this story. And it took 30 minutes? About 40 minutes it took to do this. So, join us for the next video. Yeah, if you want to see more, join us for the next video. Do all of the things, do all the YouTube things, like, subscribe, ring the bell, share. Tell your dog about me, you know? I'm sure your dog would be very happy to hear about me. So, I'm gonna cut it here. Have a good one.